Our video last week, Retire at 65, huge mistake, was a major hit in our community.
Well, it certainly stirred up a lot of controversy and conversation, which is exactly what we're looking for.
So we want to talk today and respond to some of the comments that were left, not only on YouTube, but on Instagram, where we had thousands of 500,000 views and thousands of comments that were just amazing to get people thinking about what does retirement really look like? And we want to go deeper on that today. There were many of you who said you want to retire as early as possible. And that's great. I mean, there's a comment here from Sideways is their name. Dang right, retiring at 65 is a huge mistake. Way too late. I'll be happily retired by 16 years by then. And that's fine. I'm all for people retiring early. What is it? Financially independent, retire early is a movement. And I think that's great. I retired at 55. You retired at...
You couldn't have retired at 55 because I retired at 53 and
Okay.
you're 7 years older than me.
So yeah, here's my math. Here's my math coming
Bad
into
math.
play. I retired at 60.
Yeah.
I left my career at 60, and we moved into this phase, which is a little bit different. But our kids talk about retiring at 40 or younger.
Well, I think the important thing in all of the conversation that you guys spurred on, which was incredible, was the realization for each person that retirement is so individual. It's all about what you want to do for the next phase of life. Some people want to retire at 39 or 40, and great, they can do it. They work hard and they get here. Some people, and we had a comment where someone referenced Pat Sajak and Bob Barker that worked until through their 80s. A lot of doctors and lawyers that work through into their 80s. That's what they want to do. I think the most exciting part for me was that the dialogue started and people are realizing that this is a huge decision, probably bigger than where you went to college, right? Because that may have been, decided by where you got in or what your financial concerns were and all this other stuff. We are all going to end up in retirement of some sort, however that looks for you. No application process needed.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Finances needed, for sure, but we don't do that. So I loved the fact that the conversation got started. People took firm stands on both sides, and there was a lot of great dialogue about how individual this phase of life is for you.
I remember when we started this company 4 years ago, and we did some, not roundtables, we did...
Focus groups.
Focus groups. And there was a lawyer in there who was a friend of mine, and he was already at the age of 58. And he said that he's never going to retire. He's going to continue to come in on weekends, and he will ultimately probably die at his desk.
And he was happy with that.
So happy with that. He
happy
said,
with
that's
that.
all I know. That's all I want to do. I read briefs all weekend. I read it at night. Now, I don't know where he is today, and maybe he'll change his mind. But the fact that you have an attitude either way is important. And, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say what's really important, too, we had another comment from a middle school teacher, and she said, you know what, Jody? I'd love to see you try to teach middle school at 70, 75, or 80 years old. It's darn hard. And you know what I responded? I was like, it's absolutely hard, but think of all the skills that you have in managing teenagers, managing emotions, managing curriculum, logistics, functionality, all the things. Is there anything you could do moving forward that you want to do? Not teaching middle school at 80 years old, but doing something that, really gives you purpose and value. Because I think you have to understand about Mark and I, we tried traditional retirement. We hung up our insurance careers. We were going to travel the world, hang out with our kids, throw parties and dinners, and we did it. And it was, for us, god-awful.
It was. We watched my dad self-destruct in retirement, and we were determined not to do that. Yet, we ended up going down that path anyway and realized that we were in trouble. And we see it all the time. And it's not just drinking too much and eating poorly and not exercising. All of that is important to do if you want to 10x your retirement and make it really great. But just not having a plan. Somebody left a comment in here that people spend more time planning their week-long vacation every year than they do their retirement that can be decades long. And that's a big component of what we do, is teaching people to plan for retirement. So you've got to have some kind of a vision on what's in it for you. If you're a construction worker, or you're a nurse, and you're in a job that you really don't like and it's unhealthy to keep working, then yeah, you probably should leave. But you have to retire into something, not just away from something. And that's what we talk about a lot, and want to make sure that you guys understand that. It is individual, but you still need to retire into something.
Well, I think that was what we heard also. You know, there were like these two camps, like retire as soon as you can, don't listen to these people. They don't know what they're talking about. I think some person even said we were working for the government to try to make everybody work longer.
Yeah,
Not really sure what that was, but we're not. But the other camp was like, work as long as you can, add value. And the key to both of those is have a vision on either side. You know, our kids, if they want to be financially independent and retire early, the FIRE movement, if they want to do that, they need to be planning now for that. You know, none of them are trust fund babies at all. So they need to be planning for that. And you need to be planning for that if retiring early from a career that you don't love or is too taxing. If that's where you are, that's what your plan needs to be geared towards. If you want to make it to 65 and get to a retirement, or 67 or 70, or never retire, make it your plan. So for me, the common kind of element on both sides was the plan.
It is.
You know, not the same plan, clearly.
No, but you know, what we hear a lot from people is, okay, I'm going to retire in a year and a half and I have no idea what to do. I have no hobbies. I don't have enough friends. I don't, what besides hobbies? I don't have any interests outside of my job. Well, we help people, and this is a tip, start spending some time with a journal. Just open it up and date it today and start writing about what you think you could do. What are some of the things? Gosh, we have this great career checklist. We should drop that below that.
Oh, absolutely.
Where you actually go in and you go back and you think of every job you had during your career. Which ones you liked, which ones you didn't like. The ones that you liked, how did it make you feel? What was it about that job that you really loved doing?
And even dive deep to what were the activities. So I had a woman that worked for me for 15 years, and I mean to tell you, sales and spreadsheets was her game. That was what she loved. She didn't love all the dinners. She didn't love all the social settings. She didn't love all the presentations, but loved sales and loved spreadsheets. When she retired from her insurance career, she rolled right into a real estate career where she could spreadsheet the crap out of houses and areas and amenities, and then, you know, sell. And she's wildly successful in a second career by taking what she was really good at in her first career.
Yeah, there is a second career, a third career, something for everyone to do in this phase of life. Listen, maybe you want to be the best grandparent ever and watch your children. You can have your grandchildren. You can have such an influence over these kids that they can't get anywhere else.
Right.
And that
very special.
It is very special. And we, unfortunately for us, our grandkids, the two of them are in California. So they're a long way away. The only mentoring we can give them is on FaceTime.
Or when we visit.
And when we visit. And when they visit us. And that's really important. But there's so many different things. I just wrote a book. I didn't know I was going to write a book. I think everyone has a book in them. But this idea of retiring at 65, big mistake. It really depends, right? I mean,
it's a big mistake if you haven't put any thought into it, because you don't want to find yourself wayward. You don't want to find yourself looking for things to do, finding nothing to do, and then watching a bunch of TV, because that gets you in your head. You also don't want to find yourself to be a person. I just had this conversation with my pop, a person that has a world that's this big. Sorry.
What's up?
And then in retirement, your world gets this big and you spend a lot of time inside your head, right? Because when you have your career, whatever it is, whether you love it or hate it or, can't wait to do more of it or want to quit today, your world is big when you're in a career of sorts, any career. And when your world gets small, the brain actually pulls you into your own head and you lose that ability to interact and adapt and be flexible. And then we end up with a world of grumpy old people. And we are bound and determined on this mission to not fortify the grumpy old people bucket.
So a couple of tips. One, don't try to do this alone. Do not enter retirement on your own without a plan. You've got to talk to your kids, you got to talk to your spouse, you have to talk to your friends, you have to talk to coworkers. Speak to some people who are 10 years ahead of you. What's good about their retirement? What isn't good about their retirement? Learn from them. Watch more of our videos here where we talk about what retirement could look like. And then the other thing I would say is pick a date. I think it's good to have a date in mind. Do you?
I do. You know, sometimes dates and a lot of comments were, you know, you guys don't know what you're talking about. Sometimes the dates are forced upon you. And that is absolutely a reality. Another person made a comment like, don't you understand ageism? Nobody wants to hire an old person. I do understand ageism, but nobody wants to hire an old person. I totally disagree with that. Maybe they don't want to hire you in what you were doing. But again, that self-reflection on what could you do. There are nonprofits out there that want you. There are school districts that want you. There are colleges and universities that would love to have you as an adjunct professor or teaching a class or offering mentorship. You know, depending on where you are, just be careful that you don't end up inside your head.
Here's a comment. I totally agree with your statement. I'm in my first year of retirement, and I'm realizing that I need to look into a part-time job or volunteering or taking classes to keep my mind active. That's something that we can all do. We can all volunteer. We can all take a class at a school. And if you do that, you're building a community at the same time. So we want to be clear that retiring at 65 or 60 or 72, whatever, if you have a good plan, you can be like Jody and I, and we're thriving and changing and growing and learning. We're starting a new online course next week.
Literally, the plan is the holy grail.
It is.
I mean,
it
whether
is.
you want to retire today, next year, or never, the plan is the holy grail.
So watch this next video and keep your effort going in building yourself the best retirement ever.